Hi, I'm Jessica, and when I'm not drinking all the coffee, watching Razorback sports, or hanging out with my family of boys, it's my passion to help elementary music teachers just like you find your unique teaching style. My goal with this podcast is to share helpful tips, strategies, and to give you the motivation you need to gain momentum in your teaching so you can continue being the music teacher rock star you already are. Welcome to episode 14 of the Domestic Musicians Music Education Podcast. Today, we're going to talk about tips on transitioning from summer back to school. I wanted to let you know that this was originally recorded on my Facebook page at The Domestic Musician, and I wanted to go ahead and put it on my podcast as well because I think this information is so important for anybody who is transitioning from summer back to school. Whether you're listening on this podcast or watching it live, either way, I appreciate you, and I hope that these tips help you with starting your school year off amazingly. All right, let's go ahead and get started.
And we're live. Hello, everybody. If you're watching this on replay, I want to say hello to you also. If you can't make it live, that's completely okay. I was trying to combine the words totally and completely into one. It didn't work. But I want you to know that I always leave these videos open on my page for replay, and I post it in my Music Education Connection Facebook group, which some of you may be joining me here today. So today we're going to talk about how do you transition from these easygoing, easy breezy summer days back to the days of your school year. It can be a little hard because you're used to just not having a schedule or a routine, and it can be hard to know how to do that with ease. So I want to help you with that today. And first of all, I want to start off by saying welcome. If you don't know me, if you're new to my Facebook page, my name is Jessica Peresta, and I founded the domesticmusician.com, and I love to come on my Facebook page and go live, especially during the school year. Summer's a little crazy. We're always out of town and stuff, but I love to come on here and just give advice to music teachers mainly, but any teacher that could use advice throughout the school year to give you helpful tips and tricks. But what I wanted to say is, if this happens, I apologize. My computer, the screen sometimes decides to just go black. One of my sons pulled back the screen one time and said he thought he wanted to make it look like a tablet. Ever since he did, right? Oh my gosh, kids. But ever since he did that, it will literally just be like, I'll be typing something and the whole screen just does these squiggly lines and then blacks out. So I need to get a new computer. But until I do that, I wanted to tell you that if this screen ends up going black for whatever reason, I am going to immediately pick up my phone and finish this Facebook Live on there. So, all right, let's go ahead and get started. If you're joining me, welcome. Like I said, I'm Jessica. It's great to have you here, and I want to give you helpful tips on how to transition from these beautiful, awesome, relaxing summer days back into the school year, which, oh my gosh, it's kind of difficult to do that. So I want to just go ahead and jump right in, because if you're watching this later, you can just watch it from the beginning. So first thing I want to tell you is, and I'm so completely guilty of this, is stop staying up so late. By show of hands, how many of you, when Netflix will ask you, if you have Netflix, it will ask you, you've watched too many shows in a row of a series, when Netflix says, are you still watching? Or it says something like, are you still watching, or do you want to watch another one, or something like that? And you're like, well, yeah. So then you look at, the time on your phone, and it's like midnight, and you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I was up this late. Yeah. So that happens in the summertime, and that doesn't happen every night, you guys. And the next night I usually pass out at 9, but where in summertime you can stay up as late as you want, and unless you have professional development the next day or somewhere to get your kids or whatever, you can just sleep in, but yeah, not so much when the school year starts. Stop staying up so late. I want you to give yourself a bedtime just like you would your children. Okay. Now, your bedtime will not look the same as your child, obviously, because you're an adult. So that can be whatever, 10, 11, somewhere in there, I think is a good range. But it's really hard, I feel, to go from summer staying up as late as you want to giving yourself a bedtime. So I hate saying the word bedtime. It sounds like, we're children, but, but seriously, that's what I would do is just, okay, you're going to bed at 10 o'clock. Your brain's probably not going to be able to shut off till 11, but you're going to be laying here trying to unwind, read a book, whatever it is, at 10 o'clock. No more of this midnight madness watching Netflix marathon stuff. It's done. No, summer's over. So start that like a week, maybe 2 weeks before school starts, so your body gets back into the routine of going to bed at a certain time. So it gets used to it. So then when the early morning comes, we're going to talk about that in a minute. When that early morning comes, it's easy for you to get up in that alarm. You're not laying there like, oh my gosh, I only got 5 hours of sleep, right? All right, so the second thing I want to talk about is, so speaking of setting the alarm clock, is you got to start setting that dreaded alarm clock again, you guys. I mean, that thing goes off and it's just like, no, I don't want to hear the beep, 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 beep sound. There's so many different alarm clock sounds out there now, but I always have to choose the one that's one of the loudest sounds because otherwise I'll sleep right through the thing, Or I've been guilty of putting it on PM instead of AM. So for alarm clock, here's some tricks that work. Set it, this may sound really silly, but I've had friends that do this too and it works amazing. But set it for like 5 different times, not just one time on. If you use your phone for alarm clocks, some of you still use, like the old school alarm clocks. But for me, I use my phone for alarm clock. And I put 5 different times when I know I need to get up for something, 5 different times in there. So if that first alarm clock setting goes off, then you don't even need to hit snooze. The other one, because sometimes when you hit snooze, I've been guilty of this. I'll hit snooze, or I think I'm hitting snooze and I'm actually turning it off. So if you put different times in there, if it goes off and you accidentally turn it off, then you got other ones coming right after it. It's just a trick I learned that actually really helps. So for setting the alarm clock, my advice for that is, especially the first week of school, set the alarm clock 30 minutes earlier than you normally would. If you're anything like my personality, I mean, I am ultra type A, very organized, but sometimes I get a little frazzled, and in the morning, I've been known to get to school, and when you get to school, you realize you forgot 3 things there because you just were like, it was just so much going on. So the first week of school, set your alarm clock 30 minutes earlier than you normally would. That's the last, so we talked about setting it 5 times, right? The last alarm clock should be 30 minutes earlier than you normally would until you kind of fall back into your back to school routine. And then you can drop down to 1 or 2 alarm clocks. And then, then you'll know by then you'll get your groove back and you'll know how long you need to get ready in the morning, and you won't need to wake up earlier unless you just want to. If you want to, that's great. Okay, so let me make sure I didn't miss anything on that. Okay, so the only other thing I wanted to mention about that is some of you teachers are also parents. So I know when my son was in daycare, it was very hard for me to, it's hard to, base on traffic, but you also got to not only realize how long it's going to take you to get ready, how long is it going to take you to drive to school? How long is it going to take you to drive to the daycare to drop your kids off? When you get to school, how long is it going to take you to prep everything before you get your students? So you got to factor in all these things. And a lot of it's out of your hands because, like I said, you don't know what traffic's going to be like. You don't know if your child's going to end up deciding to cooperate that morning. My gosh, preaching to the choir here myself. But all those things, making sure you allow yourself enough time is the main goal here. Okay, so the third thing is something that super duper helps me is making sure you have your stuff packed and sitting by the door. So in the morning time, literally all you have to do is pick it up and go. This is the same with laying out your clothes the night before, which I love to do that, but it never fails because I'm a girl. Sometimes I'll pick out my outfit the night before, and then when it comes time to wearing it the next day, I'm like, I actually don't want to wear this. So let's pick out something else. But you know what I mean. That's the goal, is to make your life as easy as possible. And we're talking about especially the beginning of the school year when your brain is still going to kind of be in a fog. You're still going to be like in the I'm staying up watching Netflix all night long mode. And so it's hard for you to transition. So you need to make sure that you're making your life as easy as possible. So laying your stuff by the door is hugely helpful. It was for me anyways. And then making sure your clothes are picked out the night before. So we also talked about setting alarm clocks, not for yourself, but also if you are a parent, getting your kids where they need to be to get yourself to school on time. And pack your lunch the night before. This is something that saves our family a ton of time in the morning, is packing everything. And then if it's, like sandwich meat and stuff like that, or fruit, we just put the lunch boxes in the fridge, and all you got to do is pull it out in the morning. And by the time it's lunchtime, all that food tastes like the bread will taste the way it's supposed to taste. That really does help a lot. Just making sure everything is just the night before. You're setting the coffee pot, you're getting the lunches in the refrigerator, you're getting your teacher bag by the door, your purse, whatever water you're wanting to bring, any snacks you're wanting to bring to school, everything. The clothes are laid out. Everything is where it needs to be the night before. This could even be showering the night before, which that is a time saver. But I know for me, and my husband's the same way, is showering in the morning really does help wake me up. Hot water, just, you're staying there. I am a morning person, but I've tried the showering the night before thing, and that is something that would save time. It's just not something I enjoy doing. So anyways, but that's completely up to you. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is, make sure I didn't, so I already kind of mentioned this, but it never fails when I'm going to just say this again, because I feel like I need people to understand that I've been there, done that. It never fails that if I didn't have like my teacher ID laying by the door, my bag ready to go, I would get to school, not have my room key. My teacher ID it attached to the teacher ID. I wouldn't have my, I would forget something else important, like a lesson plan at home or whatever. So because I was just frazzled, running around like a chicken with my head cut off in the morning and didn't have it laying out the night before. So anything you need to get to school the next day, we're just going to say that one more time. The night before helps a lot. All right. So the next thing I want to talk about is, okay, so that's like your morning routine stuff. Okay. The morning routine, the nighttime routine, all that stuff. But let's talk about you're at school now. When you're at school, setting up your classroom, what can you do to make sure you're ready to go? I feel like you're going to have a whole lot of meetings and team professional development, which, you're in those meetings sometimes just thinking you really want to get back in your classroom and set up. But anyways, when you are in your classroom setting up, that really does help your mindset shift from summer to teacher mode. Because you're in the classroom, kind of gets you excited. You're maybe not all in yet. You're like, I'm not really ready to quite be here yet. I wanted a few more days to swim. But when you start setting up that classroom and you're hanging up bulletin boards and you're getting student lists and you're, starting a lesson plan, it gets your mind back to school mode and makes you excited to go back. So I just feel like that really does help the transition from summer to back to school, is when you just start physically getting yourself back into your classroom, even when no kids are there, maybe no other teachers are in the building, and you're just starting to set up your classroom. I feel like it helps a lot getting it set up and makes you excited. So making sure your lessons are ready to go. I would recommend having 1 week of lesson plans, if not 2, ready to go. So you are not feeling frazzled. What I want to mention real quick is sometimes I link to specific blog posts in these videos. I just put the link to my blog because the last 3 or 4 posts have been about back to school, the first day of school, how to lesson plan. I can't remember the other one off the top of my head, but if you go to my blog, read some of those. I wrote them because I want it to be helpful to you. So what I was going to say about lesson planning, like I said, 1, if not 2 weeks ahead of time. Because when you do that, you're going to be trying to learn students' names. You're going to still be maybe finishing setting up your classroom. You're going to have back to school meetings. You're going to have back to school night. You're going to have, maybe you have an honor choir. You're going to have tryouts for that. You're finishing up planning programs. You're whatever else that you're doing. You're going to have so much going on at the beginning of the school year that as the school year goes on, during your plan time is usually when you're going to have an easy time planning your lesson plans throughout the school year. But at first, there's so much going on. I feel like if you have at least a week of lesson plans ready to go at first, it's going to help you so much just to go, okay, this is done. This takes something off my plate. I can take a deep breath knowing that my week is planned out and I can just show up and teach. So try to have that ready to go. Okay, the next thing. We talked about having your clothes laid out the night before, but let's talk about clothes. So you probably maybe have been sitting around in your yoga pants and your sweatpants all summer long. Or I even talked to one of she teaches kindergarten. She goes to my church and she said, you know what, Jessica, there's been some days I've just literally been sitting around in my pajamas all day. And I said, so what? It's summer. Who cares? Take the break you need. I mean, my gosh. I mean, who cares if someone rings the doorbell and they have a package? Like, it is what it is, people. I'm here. I'm in my pajamas. What? So, but I feel like maybe it's just mainly for women. I don't know. But when you go buy yourself a couple of new outfits, a couple of new teacher outfits, you kind of get you, like I said, we're talking about mindset, getting you excited about going back. You get excited. You know, the purpose of this outfit is to go teach students. And you're like, okay, I got me some teacher clothes. I got me some new pants, some new shirts, maybe some new shoes, and I'm excited to wear these while I go teach. So maybe, I mean, you probably have clothes ready to go, but maybe you want to just go buy yourself a couple new outfits. Do it. Go do it. If that's what's going to get you excited and motivated, then go buy yourself some new clothes and do not feel guilty about it. So also, along with that, along with sitting around in sweatpants and pajama pants and yoga pants and whatever else, there's probably a ton of days this summer, women especially, well, hopefully men aren't doing the makeup, but women that you have been sitting around with no makeup on and your hair's just, you know, up in a messy bun, which this doesn't happen this summer. And my hair's frizzy today because it's humid outside. But yeah, so getting back in the routine of, we talked about giving yourself extra time with that alarm clock at the beginning of the school year, because you are going to need to remember how long it's going to take you to get ready. So maybe give yourself a practice run the week before school starts. And all right, I'm going to do my makeup, fix my hair. How long is this going to take me on top of taking a shower, eating breakfast? We forgot to talk about that. Eating breakfast is very important. But so making sure that you're I almost said eating breakfast again, getting your makeup on and fixing your hair as part of your routine, how long will that take you to do? And I know it depends on the day. And girls, you know, what day hair are you on? You know what I mean? So it depends on the day. It depends on if you're wearing it in a ponytail that day or whatever. But making sure you get back into the routine of getting yourself, you know, getting your face on and your hair fixed before you teach is important too. And the last thing I want to say to you is, and I'm a fast talker, I hope you stayed with me, everybody. My mom is from Louisiana and they just talk very, very fast, and I inherited that from her. I've had people tell me that before. You talk so fast. I don't know. I get excited and it just, ugh. So I need to speak to myself here too. But take a deep breath, relax, and know you're going to do a great job. Don't get stressed out about all the stuff, okay? Your classroom will get set up. You will have outfits to wear. You will be able to get out your door on time. Excuse me. You will be able to, you know, teach effectively this year. All the things you need to do in your personal life, but in your teaching life as well, will come together. It may take like a week or two for you to find your groove again and to find your rhythm, but that's for every teacher. It's really hard to go from summer back to teaching because maybe not for everybody, but for some of us, it's hard to go back from really relaxing, enjoying the summer back to, you know, back to the classroom because you're back in your routine. And so I just really wanted to say that the last thing I want to say, I said that 3 times now, I think, but the only other thing I wanted to mention is start off your day. If you pray, start off with prayer, reading a devotional, or maybe just even reading a motivational quote. Listen to a podcast on the way to school. But listen to a podcast, listen to your favorite music, listen to, I don't know, some kind of motivational speaker in your car. Something to get your mind just focused, ready to go, and as you're on your way to school, you're really listening and thinking through things. That will help you also. So I hope you found this video valuable. I would love to hear in the comments, how do you prepare yourself to go back to school? Do you find any of these tips helpful? Is there anything I did not talk about that you can add to this conversation? Or is it anything I mentioned that you can relate to and that you're like, yes, that's me too, sister, preach it. I would love to hear all about it, so let me know. I hope you guys are having an amazing week. And like I said, if you're new here, it's so nice to meet you, and I'm so grateful for you, and I'm glad that you have found this page and hope you find the motivation and inspiration you've been needing in your teaching. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening in to the Elementary Music Teacher Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And while you're there, I would love for you to review the show and leave a rating on iTunes. To find out more about how I can help you gain momentum in your elementary music teaching career, head to thedomesticmusician.com, where you'll find free downloads, courses, the blog, and so much more. Continue teaching music and never doubt the impact you're making each and every day in the lives of your students.